See if I can do it again. That was...
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Blood of My Blood. We're here with Ghostlight RPGs, a collective of theater artists, keeping the lamp lit with role-playing games, even while the theaters are dark. My name is Graham Ward. I want to welcome you to this horror game. We are continuing from our session last week, but before we get started, we do have a couple of things we just want to mention. So first of all, I'd like to thank a few people as part of our opening here. So I want to thank Justin Barron, who's here as our producer and as a player. He's playing Tiago. Justin's doing so much behind the scenes and making all of this possible. So thank you, Justin. I also want to thank Emma Carter, who is a player in this game playing Adelaide. She's also the GM of Pitfalls and Ponies, which is our other live play stream, which you can watch here on Ghostlight RPGs. That's 10:30 a.m. Central Time on Sundays. So if you want to get the polar opposite of what we're getting here tonight, you can enjoy the content that they're making. They're just an absolutely delightful, hilarious crew of theater people. So it's been really fun watching that show get started as well. So join them on Sunday, 10:30 Central Time. I also want to thank Kelsey Botwinick-Caruza, who is our social media consultant. She's also, like Justin, doing a ton behind the scenes, and we're just so grateful. We could not possibly do what we're doing without Kelsey. And I'm sure you'll see her in the chat because she's everywhere. So finally, I want to thank Ted Bushman, who is another one of our players here tonight. Ted is playing Briar, and he composed several songs for our stream. Ted is an incredible writer, composer, and a polymath in general. So we're really lucky to have Ted's work featuring on the stream. So thanks. The art that you saw in our intro and in the overlay and all that in the promos is by Chris Cold, a fantastic artist who worked on the Darkplane campaign setting. Then let me just make one more announcement about Justin's stream. Or Justin, do you want to talk a bit about what you're doing with the Green Room?
Gladly. Yeah, so on Tuesday nights, if you haven't checked in with us, Tuesday nights on this channel, the same place you're watching this, you can come back at 8:30 Central Standard Time and watch the Green Room, which is kind of a little backstage pass, if you will, into a lot of what's going on at Ghostlight RPGs. This last week we had Ted as a guest, along with Rebecca from the Pitfalls and Ponies show. And next week we're going to have William as a guest from this show, Theodore. So make sure you stop by and check it out. We play games, we talk, we paint. It's crazy. Yeah. That's all.
Excellent. Okay. Well, let us shut out the outside world as we delve back into the Darkplane setting and into our storyline of Blood of My Blood. Last week, we were introduced to several characters here who are members of the family, a group who had previously been living at a secluded compound in the Empire of Arrochule, but were driven out in a somewhat violent storming of their living space that was performed by disgruntled neighbors. The nature of that is not entirely clear to everybody, but they are now on the ship Raleigh and are heading out to Ordessos, a remote island city, where they believed they would find salvation and peace at last. Unfortunately, last week, what we saw was that several crew members discovered that they were not actually heading to Ordessos and attempted a mutiny. Didn't have a lot of support, and they were quickly struck into silence by our player characters who were defending the family and defending Mother, who is the clear leader of this group. Most of the people in the family don't know much about Mother other than that she's the caretaker of the family. They don't know if she has another name, what that might be. But she commands absolute obedience within the family. We also discovered some things about our character's past, and the biggest event of note last session was that Selby, who had been engaged to a man named Marsus, was overcome with some kind of strange illness that caused her flesh to seem jaundiced and stale, crusty almost. And as those gathered around her attempted to comfort her in her last moments, her head caught on fire and she burned alive in front of them. And that probably leads me to our content warning, which I haven't given yet. This is a horror stream. If you are concerned at all about horror things, please just use caution as we proceed. We are not going to be gratuitous, but you will encounter some pretty nasty things. So we've got, of course, violence, references to things like self-harm, madness, and murder. Almost certainly you'll see ghosts and all kinds of other spooky things. So be warned, we don't know ourselves what's going to happen here, but we are keeping ourselves within, a sort of set list of topics that we will not cross, including the most objectionable things that you won't want to see on Twitch. But that you are warned that this is a horror stream and will contain things like that. So as Selby caught on fire, Tiago, the priest of Ulmhasa, the dreaming goddess, tried to save her life, and unfortunately she was left really in a situation where she probably was doomed anyway, and it was momentary. Tiago, you would have felt in that moment that something not only interpolated itself between you and Selby as you tried to heal her, but you felt another presence almost intercede and snatch her life out of the hands of your spell and of Ulmhasa, who would have claimed her spirit. So this question is lingering with you as we enter this session. At the end of the events last week, a drifting ship that was just moving with the tide seemed headed straight for your vessel, and was only avoided at the last possible second by the efforts of the party here, who helped the crew throw an anchor overboard, swing the ship about, and instead of being hit head on by the ship, passed alongside it. Now both ships have stopped, and with a terrible crunch of the wood as they slide along each other, both ships suddenly remain still, and you only see the crashing waves around you as you're right side by side with this vessel. You can see immediately that there are no sails. Much of the rigging has been cut or fallen off, and there is no one on deck.
So it appears that there never were sails, that are there bits of them ripped off, or does it look like they've been taken down?
You would see little bits of just remnants, vestiges of the sails that used to be on it.
Yeah, ragged bits. Huh.
The other thing that
I'll probably
Tiago
put,
saw,
I think,
I just want to mention that the other thing Tiago saw was that there were bodies all bobbing in the water around this vessel. Okay. So go ahead, Briar. As you're all standing on deck, you have a chance to act.
I was just going to say that I think I had picked up Adelaide before we had like ground to a halt. So I think as I sort of catch myself, I set her down and start looking around with everyone else. Anyone else can take an action. I just wanted to get her so she can do whatever she wants.
Sure.
Thank you.
Could I do a thing that I haven't done yet? And as an action, can I use Eyes of the Grave and detect undead?
Okay. What's the range of this?
It is 60 feet.
Okay. So that'll easily cross onto the deck of the ship. You do not sense any undead on the ship, nor in the water below you. You do, however, sense a presence directly beside you within Briar.
I turn slowly.
What is it?
As he looks back at you, you see golden locks tumbling down from the top of his head, and his eyes are bloodshot, almost filled with this red color. And around his neck is a torn piece of cloth, like maybe from a piece of clothing, that is kind of wrapped, almost knotted around his neck. And you can see where his face seems to have had the oxygen cut off from it.
What is it, Tiago?
What is that? What is this? I'm gonna
I don't
reach
know.
out and try to touch him in the face. I suppose.
As you touch it, you see that the face is broad and rough-featured like Briar's face, and you blink, and the vision is gone, and you just see Briar's kind of sullen, heavy face in front of you.
Forgive me. I am seeing things.
We've all just seen some things, but I think we need to get to work and see what's happening with this ship.
Yes, I agree. Is Mother all right? Mother.
You hear her heels clopping up the stairs from below deck, where the mutineers had conflict with you before you ran up to save the ships from crashing. So she now emerges onto the deck, leaning heavily on the rail, and she says, "Is everything all right?" You can see that she has a huge red mark on the side of her face that seems to be quickly bruising.
Oh, Mother, are you all right?
Yes, Adelaide, thank you. I am all right. And as you move to her side, she kind of quickly takes your wrist, almost as if she doesn't want you to touch her. But her face seems grateful, conciliatory, but you can feel her grasp is like iron for a moment, and then she lets go of your wrist. And she says, "I took a little fall, but I should be all right. Now, what is this?" And she looks out to the vessel.
I do not know, Mother. Through Umhasa, I've sensed no immediate danger. Perhaps we should get a closer look. I look to
Yes,
Theodore when I say that.
So at this measure, I imagine Theodore is still tore up pretty bad from the scuffle with the mutineers. So I imagine after helping with the rigging or whatever with the remainder of the crew, will have collapsed, I imagine. And I'll prop myself up on my sword and sort of make my way over to everyone, look at Mother and kind of sort of curiously assess her face before sort of shaking it off.
Make an insight check.
Okay. Okay, so that is going to be a 13.
Okay. You're not sure exactly what she's feeling at the moment. She's a little inscrutable, but she is very stern and intense. Even more intense, it seems, than she was during the scuffle.
Okay. But with that, sort of coughing, wiping whatever blood may be trickling from the side of his mouth. If I know one thing about people who rise up on ships, that may not be the last of it. I would suggest that we put these people to work and put their minds off of whatever may have brought about this little revolt. And it would appear as though this ship has fallen into our laps and offered just such a diversion. Perhaps we should board and see and see what this mess is all about.
Tiago's gonna go immediately to Theodore and take a look. You're pretty bad, right, William?
I believe I'm still sitting at 1 hit point from where I recovered.
He's
from before.
fine.
For sure. For sure. Then Tiago will immediately pull out, just grasp onto his symbol of Umhasa, and use it with his other hand, take Theodore's face, and just close his eyes and put his forehead against Theodore's, and whisper, Umhasa with you. Umhasa be with you. And just cast Cure Wounds.
Okay.
Which, let's see. Yeah, it's automatic the most because of my thing, my circle of gravity.
Yes.
So it's a 8 plus 3, so 11 points.
Ooh.
Back to you.
Thank you.
You're very
With
welcome.
that, Theodore will kind of regain his composure somewhat. I've not much put stock in the gods, but I thank you for that. Right. Maybe take a moment more to compose ourselves and see, as I said, what this is all about. What say you?
I agree with Theodore, Mother. I wonder, is there something that we can say to these sailors to calm them?
Well, is there something you can say? She says, like really kind of biting your head off.
Mother, I didn't know that our destination was unknown. If you
It
can
is
give
not
us an answer.
unknown, Briar. Now, are you going to do something about this mutiny or not? You seem to be perfectly pleased clocking people over the heads with the back of your with your axe.
Where is the captain?
Indeed.
He was below last I saw him.
Right. He was the one that was standing idly by as this whole thing unfolded, and we made our way up from the lower portions, and he shot me a look. I would bet that, yes, we should speak with him. Perhaps he'll know exactly what got everyone stirred up. Mother, if we are still on course, perhaps this was just a misunderstanding. But no need to worry.
At this point, Adelaide, you realize that you haven't seen your cat Silver since your last interaction with her, which was below in the room where Selby died. She seems nowhere to be found.
Perhaps I should go below decks and check to make sure everybody is all right.
If you must, says Mother, and she kind of like limpingly walks over to a barrel on deck and sits on it.
And I want to go over to Briar before I leave, and I want to say, don't mind her too much. She's in a lot of pain right now.
Yes, well, I do have some 40 years of experience. Thank you, Adelaide. And he does appear somewhat hardened despite his cynical response.
And I will exit.
Okay, where are you heading, Adelaide?
I'm going to go look for Silver below decks.
Okay, check your room first, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, entering your cabin, you don't see any sign of Silver here, although you do notice something sitting on your bed.
I go forward and I inspect it.
Okay, so in this depression in the blankets on top of your bed, you see what looks to be a bone. And the bone looks like something a cat would leave, at your door, a little trinket from some kind of kill. But it is large. This bone looks like it could be human.
Oh.
And on it, you see are scratched some kind of pictographic symbols.
Can I investigate them to see if I can interpret what they are?
Sure, make your choice of a history check, or you could do perception too, if you like.
Okay, I'll do perception. That's an 18 plus 3.
Okay, nice. So, looking very closely, it does form a pattern, and the pattern you see is that it looks like a very rudimentary ship that seems to be traveling along the length of the bone. As you examine it, you're pretty sure that this is a human femur bone based on the size. And the ship seems to be traveling through these kind of paneled images, like you might see decorating the trim of a wall in some kind of ancient palace. And as the ship is traveling, you can see various forms that encircle or approach that pictograph. The first you see looks like some kind of fire symbol, like rising tongues of fire coming from the sea itself. The second you see is a great moon sitting right over the prow of the ship. And then the ship proceeds, and you see what looks like some kind of serpent slinking in this large S curve within the hold of the ship. And the symbols continue. They start to get a little stranger. You see what look like eyes just populating the entire upper deck of the ship, almost like you would see like portholes or like shields on a long ship. You see these large eyes just sort of sitting on the edge. And then finally, the last image depicts the ship being taken up toward the moon. So you can see it very clearly lifted off the water, and it looks like it's basically folding upward and in half so that the deck kind of closes like a hinge. And it seems to be entering the moon.
Well, Adelaide is going to inspect that and then hide it so that nobody else will find it under her pillow.
Great. As you kind of leave it under your pillow, you feel like it's left some kind of oily texture on your fingers, and you look at your fingers, and the tips of your fingers have become this yellow, almost cheese-like color.
Ugh, I try to shake it off.
It does not come off.
Silver, 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 are you here?
There's no answer.
Adelaide is going to storm angrily out of the room and keep looking. She's going to go down further towards where we left Selby.
Okay, you enter the cargo hold?
Yeah. Do I?
So it's moments. This is moments later, so you would guess that things are unchanged in the room where you saw her die, where you in fact dealt the killing stroke with the toll of the bell.
Yes, I do go there.
Okay, so very slowly you approach the door. It's open just a few inches, and you can see the light of the lantern that was in there still on. And as you go to open the door, standing over Selby's burnt, lifeless corpse is the figure of a silver cat, but it is very large. It's the size of a horse, and it seems to be standing over her body with its head down, doing that kind of motion that you see when an animal, like a large dog or a lion, would be chewing on a carcass, and they kind of like move their head up and down with their shoulders heaving, and it's this grotesque sight as you see Silver do this. And then suddenly her ears perk up, and she takes several steps towards you, and as she does, she turns, and by the time she has turned around so that you can see her face, she's diminished back to the size that you have seen. What you see of the body is that it's basically vanished from the shoulders up. So her burned corpse now is just a stump sticking up out of the bedding.
How big are the portholes?
Oh, yeah, maybe 1.5 feet.
Okay. Silver, why did you do that? They'll know something's wrong.
Silver kind of looks up at you, and you don't see any evidence of this feast that she seems to have just had. But she kind of licks her teeth the way a cat would, and then you just see a little shake of the head, twitch of the ears, and then she kind of just innocently bats her eyes at you.
I show her my fingers and I say, "What do we do about this?"
She looks at you knowingly and kind of nods in the direction of the bed. And as you're holding your hand out, you feel suddenly a charge release and a blast of this kind of golden, almost orange light lances out and strikes the bed and hits the body. The body is not particularly affected by it, but this is an eldritch blast of some kind that you have unlocked. And you imagine that it would be very agonizing if that were pointed at a living person.
Okay. Are my fingers still cheesy?
Just a little bit, just on the pads of your fingers.
I take out my gloves and I put my gloves on.
Okay.
And I say, "Will you come back with me up to the top of the ship? There's a ship and we have to go see what's happened. Or do you have to stay here with that?"
No, she kind of jauntily trots along beside you.
Good. And I go back upstairs.
Okay. How about the rest of you during the last 5 minutes or so?
I'd say if Theodore's willing, I'd say that Briar would go along with him to go see the captain and see if they can calm things down a little bit. And maybe as we're walking towards where the captain might be, I'm not sure if we know, maybe we have to be searching for it, but Briar would ask Theodore, they say that, I don't have much experience with traveling on ships, but they say that sailors are very superstitious, that there are beliefs about curses and strange birds and other things. I'm curious if there are any such legends about specters that breathe insects or something to that effect.
See, so I think Theodore would take a moment to ponder this. Trying to remember. Yeah, would this be something that I would like in particular that I might be able to pull reference from with my travels and having, being familiar with the superstitions of sailors and those sorts of things?
Sure. Make a history check.
Okay. So
you can do it with advantage since you're specifically thinking on sea tales.
So that would be a 14 plus 2, so a 16.
Nice. You've heard stories of the vengeance of the dead, that when some people are killed, they're seen again, and they seem intent on avenging themselves, and that power seems to make their spirits restless.
Okay. So at that, Theodore will sort of, after thinking on it a moment, no, not anything in particular, though. Superstitions among sailors are a dime a dozen, and so that does seem to fall in line with a whole host of different things that I suppose I've heard from time to time. Revenge and vengeance, things of that nature. It's damn powerful stuff. And that sounds in line with a handful of different things that I've heard whispered between crew members from time to time. All rubbish and absolute hogwash, a lot of it. But you know how sailors can be. Or maybe not, but I know how sailors can be. And certainly. Yes, so why? Why do you ask?
I'm not sleeping very well and I've had terrible dreams. But is there any, as you say, superstition and hogwash generally, but are there any good counter charms? I don't know the kinds of things people use for this when they don't have true philosophy like ours to guide them.
Again, it's not something that I've put much stock into. So nothing that I know of specifically, but there are, of course, people in every port that I've ever been to that peddle in those sorts of things. Perhaps when we reach our destination, or Dessos, or wherever the hell it is we're going, there'll be someone there that can tend to it. It could also be, though, that, as you said, you're not used to life on the sea, and the ocean can have all sorts of strange effects on men. Theodore will kind of slap Briar on the back. I wouldn't worry too much about it if I were you. I'm sure in a couple of days you'll be right as rain.
I certainly hope so.
All this
Now-
conversation is underscored by what now sounds like the thudding of these corpses bobbing in the water against the sides of the ship.
Can we smell them? Do they stink?
Not particularly. The smell of the sea is pretty powerful anyway, but it's not like some sort of reeking cloud.
Sure. Cool.
But yeah, I mean, if you kind of lean over the side of the ship, give a little sniff, you could probably pick up something of it.
Yeah, a little bit.
They don't appear to be moving. I think that's a good sign, at least.
For us, not for them.
Oh, obviously.
All right, so have we found this captain? Do we know where he is?
Yeah, you've reached the deck below where you had seen him sort of reclining almost helplessly during the mutiny. Captain Tariq Zet is from an area called Goltaraim. He is one of the more mysterious members of this voyage. You know that he has been sort of on charter by the family and by Mother for years. But he doesn't really speak to anyone, and he seems to just whenever you've interacted with him or passed him by, there's something about his glare that has been disconcerting to you. He seems to look at you almost with pity, and he does this now as you approach him. He's just sitting amongst some of the sailors, and he's listening to their conversation, and they immediately hush as soon as you come down onto the lower deck.
I'm going to draw my sword at that point, and as threateningly as I can, get into his face and sort of bellow out, "Why in the hell didn't you do anything back there?"
You can smell as soon as you get close. He reeks of alcohol. Clearly has been drinking a lot. You can see his eyes are kind of lazily trying to shut as you're holding him up, and he's almost barely there, but he looks at you and he says, "There is nothing I can do for you or for anyone. On our course we go."
Are we on course?
Perhaps we should speak about this away from the others.
Right. As to not stir up any level of concern like we did before. Yes,
Right.
yes, perhaps that would be best.
That had nothing to do with me.
Well, if you had stepped in and explained to everyone that we were still heading in the right damn direction, I think that it might have done a lot. So perhaps we can agree to disagree on that point.
What do you want of me? You want to know where we're going?
Well, I think that if we are not still heading to Odessos as we had planned, then that might be information that Briar and I could make use of.
Theodore, maybe we can take advantage of his offer to have this conversation somewhere else.
Yeah, you can see clearly the soldiers and, or I should say sailors, are eyeing you very conspicuously.
And with that, like, Theodore will put the sword away, collect himself, let him go, and sort of, "You're right. Yes, I'm just a little on edge. That's all. But you're right, Briar. We should speak where there aren't so many others to hear us."
Indeed. Briar will push for whatever location we have nearby, wherever Tariq is sort of leading them, but also in the moment he'll grab a nearby soldier just by the shoulder, sort of by the meat of the shoulder, and say, and say, "Can you find the two officers you trust most on this ship and bring them here to talk to me?"
And this is a random soldier?
The one who looks like the guy I would trust.
Okay, make an insight check.
Yeah. All right. That's 6.
Okay.
I don't know.
As soon as you grasp the sailor's shoulder, you feel the hand throw yours off. And he says, "Off of me, bloody oaf." And he starts walking away.
Briar will just let him go.
Yeah. To clarify, these are not members of the family. These are,
Yes.
the crew of the ship that has been hired to take you. So you're obviously sensing a divide among those who seem to trust the voyage and Mother, and those who have been hired and really want to know where the hell they're going.
Yes. Yeah, totally. All right, let's go in and talk to Tariq.
Okay, so he will just sort of stagger out and down to the captain's cabin, which you can see has clearly been overtaken with a number of possessions that don't seem to belong to him. Things draped with sheets, strapped in and buckled against the walls, as if he has unwillingly had his cabin changed into storage space. And he comes in, he immediately opens a cabinet, pops a cork off of a bottle, and fully lies down on the bed with a hand behind his head.
Quite a collection you have here, Captain.
Well, it is not my space anymore.
To whom does it belong?
All of these things, they were placed in here by Mother.
Can I take a look at them and see if I can identify anything?
Yeah, you want to kind of like pull the sheet back and...
Yeah, I want to take a look.
Sure. The first thing you see startles you because it is a statue. And as soon as you pull the sheet back, you see this shape of a human with long curled hair. However, the statue is made of marble, and you realize that it looks like a figure who's in kind of a twisted, contorted position. The hands are like, with fingers tensed, claw-like, and on the face is a contorted grimace, as if the person is being tortured. This is nothing you've ever seen before.
And is it the person who I think it is?
No, just a statue.
Huh.
Well, that's unsettling.
Maybe
I
it'll go
take
for a
it,
lot of
based on your
market.
expression, Briar, that this isn't something you've ever seen before either.
No, but Mother does enjoy strange art pieces.
Right. With that, I'm going to begin poking around under the sheets as well, but like specifically trying to see if there's anything tucked away that would look like similar to this box that I am familiar with, but not expecting to find that, but expecting to find things that might look like that.
Sure. Make an investigation check. And while you're going about doing that, let's flip to Tiago. What's Tiago doing?
I think Tiago is, if he can find Himalayan, if he can find them anywhere. I'm assuming there were a number of injured parties during that scuffle, so he would just be kind of trying to help, I guess, gather them and maybe just trying to check in with Himalayan. At the same time, though, like, he is fully aware that there's like this ship just docked next to them, and that's like his main focus. But I think he wants to check in with Himalayan first. Yeah,
so after a few minutes of you kind of looking over, there are several dead bodies, and then there are a few that were simply knocked unconscious. And as you take a minute to kind of look them over and take stock of the situation, Himalayan will come up from the doctor's cabin and sign at you. As a reminder, Himalayan has no lower jaw and therefore uses sign language to speak, and most of our characters are fluent in that sign. So they will start signing to you and say, "What on earth happened up here? I heard screams."
some sort of mutiny.
Did that have to
seems-
do with the sudden jerking of the ship?
No,
It seemed like we tossed anchor.
that is separate problems, it seems. And I get a little closer, and it seems that there was some sort of discrepancy revolving around the destination of the ship. And then I look at the other ship and I say, that is its own problem. I have yet to understand.
What do you know of it? Have you observed anything?
I don't sense any presence of undead, but I would like to get a closer look.
Do we have a name or any information about where it might have come from? How long it's been out here?
Not yet.
Okay. I'll take care of these. And they gesture to the bodies on the floor of this hold. And they say, why don't you try to gather some more educated folks who can have some opinions about where this vessel might have come from. Perhaps you can find a captain's log or something.
Yes, that sounds like a good idea. And before they go, I take them by the arm, and I go in just a little closer and whisper almost. Selby is gone.
Then you found her?
Yes,
Why didn't you send for me?
it was too late. By the time I got there, it was... Oh, I have never seen something so... I could do nothing.
Do you have a medical opinion?
I wish. I do not think this was a medical problem. There was a presence right at the very end. I thought I could save her, but something was blocking me. I don't know.
Something metaphysical in nature?
Yes.
Well, it seems something is along this journey with us.
It would seem that way.
Keep your focus. Keep your faith.
And you
We'll
as well.
find what it is. I'll see what I can do with these.
Yeah. Is there anybody else that seems to be like concerned about the ship on the deck there, or?
Yeah, most of the sailors who are, I mean, almost everyone on the ship is now awake. You imagine some of the members of the family are still down in those really cramped sleeping spaces and not bothering to get back up. But there's kind of a crowd forming, and they just seem to be kind of hubbubbing, discussing what they think this might be.
All right. I'm gonna walk over to the edge. Everybody, keep the faith. It will be all right in the end. And then I would like to. Do I recognize anybody? Like, I mean, like, are there any of the other major?
Well, Adelaide will return at this point.
Okay.
In addition, though, yeah, there are members of the family that you recognize, certainly.
I'm going to lead a party, I suppose. Investigate a bit further. Do I have any volunteers?
No one raises their hand. What's Adelaide doing as she comes up onto the deck?
Well, her intention was to go find someone and try to convince them that we need to get to land as soon as possible. But she's thinking now, well, we can't do that if we're... Are we attached to the other ship? Is it keeping us from moving?
No, the anchor's keeping you from moving. The ships are resting against one another, though.
Then I think Adelaide is going to say, can't we just go? Shouldn't we just leave it be?
I don't know if that's smart. This ship seemed to come out of nowhere. It could have answers to things that remain unknown.
Well, of course, Tiago, you would know best. I suppose if you think that we must go on to it before we move on, I would be happy to go with you. If you think I could be of any help, as silly as I may be.
Does Tiago get any kind of weird sense from her in this?
That is up to Emma.
Well, she picked up on the fact that you said her idea was not smart, but that's fine. This is the world that we live in as women. I think that she is going to... Can I roll performance?
Sure. As a general, approach, I prefer to have the kind of players work out how they'd like that dynamic to go.
Okay.
Use the scene and the role play. But I don't mind if you want to roll dice too to help guide you.
I rolled an 11 plus 6.
That is quite a performance roll.
She is convincing as heck.
Yeah, I'm not gonna roll against it. That's
I just want to help, Tiago. If I can be of any help, please.
yes.
Take me with you.
All right. Let's
Can we hear any of this hubbub from down in the captain's quarters?
Yeah, this is at the time that Theodore is searching. So you would hear a little bit. You probably hear Tiago's voice raising above everyone else's and kind of addressing a group. But nothing concerning, I wouldn't think. What was your investigation check?
It was a 16.
Okay. Underneath a heavy crate, you can see what looks like some kind of trunk. And it is made out of hardened leather with iron bands around it and leather straps that keep it buckled. On the front, there's clearly a keyhole that would open it. But it's under what seems to be a lot of weight from this crate. As you touch the crate above it, you can hear the jangling of glass, so probably bottles of some kind. But then that trunk, there's something about the smell that reminds you of an experience you had not long before leaving. Something to do with Selby.
Okay. So I'll take note of that and just sort of kind of move past it without giving it too much, and sort of look back and forth and then turn my attention back to Briar and the captain.
All of the items that you've revealed with your rummaging and searching seem to be curios of a sort. Very odd objects, some from faraway places. It's either an art collection or some kind of weird collection of horrifying imagery and art pieces. It's strange and disconcerting. The images worked into many of these, there are probably some vases, a tall urn, maybe like 4 feet off the ground. I mean, it's really cramping in the captain's quarters. But it's all worked with these designs of what look like tortured figures with faces in pain.
Okay. Well, I do apologize, Tariq, that your space has been overwhelmed with all of this this grotesque imagery.
You can imagine it doesn't help my sleep.
Well, yes. That would appear to be something that quite a few people seem to be suffering from as of late. However, I would expect you, sir, to have a more level head about you.
Sure, there are a lot of things that I should be doing. I should be directing the vessel better. I should be taking care of my sailors and making sure that they don't rebel against you people.
You were paid handsomely in coin, were you not, sir?
Oh yes, for many years I have been.
And you willingly accepted that coin.
Yes.
and therefore you have a duty and a responsibility. This is not my first time at sea, dear Captain, and there is decorum that must be followed, because if it is not, the results, well, you can see what the results are. We didn't hire you and your crew because we felt the need to take care of everything. We hired you and your crew to get us from point A to point B. And we would appreciate it if you would sober up and do a better job of it. Yes, I feel like being direct is called for.
All right. I'll make a big change. I'll turn a new leaf. Is that what you want to hear?
No, I suppose it's not what I want to hear, because I don't believe you. But, given the circumstances, I suppose it'll have to do for now. Briar, was there anything else you wanted to ask Tariq?
Where are we going, Tariq?
I was not given a name. I was given a bearing. And I was to instruct my helmsman and my navigator to lead us there. It seems I did not do enough to impress upon them the secrecy of this bearing. And for that, and he looks at you with an earnest expression of utter pity. And he says, I am sorry. And he actually starts weeping. And he says, I am sorry for a great many things.
Captain, we're all sorry for many things. At the moment, I want to get these people safely onto dry land. Perhaps that is simply my prejudice against the ocean at work, but I think it is also, given the circumstances, justified.
Do you see any land around us? We've been
No.
at sea for 4 days now.
Yes. What I mean is, we don't expect you to turn over a new leaf, or at least I don't. What we're going to do now is we're going to get onto that boat and see what happened to it, and see if there's something that we need to be worried about in the ocean around us. That's what we're going to do. We need your help to help the sailors trust us. You have plenty of reasons not to trust us, I'm sure. But if you can help us with that, and if you can tell them some lie, tell them whatever that destination is, tell them that we're heading there and then we'll be in Odessos. A delay that we can't tell anyone about. I don't know. If you can do that, then you'll have my gratitude.
Make a persuasion check with advantage.
Okay. All right. That's a 16.
Okay. He takes a deep breath. He wipes the tears from his face and he says, all right. I return to the surface and I will do as you ask. And I will take us wherever Mother desires to go. And I will do so with no frown and with a clear mind. And he'll cork the bottle that he had opened and really not actually taken much time to drink and set it back in the cabinet, close the cabinet, and kind of straighten his uniform and stride as best he can, as steadily as he can, out the cabin door. Leaving you alone in this room where these strange, disturbing pieces of imagery surround you.
Well, I think this warrants more searching, but for now, I think I hear Tiago at work up there. What do you think, Theodore?
I agree. We should get back to the others and see what is unfolding. Though I will say, that was quite a speech you just gave. I don't dare say I could not have done better myself. With that, Theodore will promptly kind of spin on his heels and take off out the door.
Well, thank you. Briar will say, surprised, and follow him. So
Okay.
we'll head up, and as we reach the group, Tiago is still, I guess, desperately looking for volunteers. I'll say, "We'll go."
Yes, yes. Let's all go together.
I suppose this is for the best.
Adelaide, are you sure you want to come with us? I don't mean to make any prejudice based on your sex, but simply, I have not seen you. It could be dangerous. Are you sure you wish to come?
Well, somebody has to protect the three of you. And she smiles a little bit.
Very well then. Let's go.
See, Briar, there's nothing to worry about. The lady can take care of herself.
And us, apparently.
Tiago is staring bullets at Briar and Adelaide.
Adelaide is going to saddle over to Briar so that hopefully she can get him away for a private conversation later.
Ooh, okay. Are we hopping onto the ship?
Yeah, you can see that the other ship is a little smaller than your vessel. So it's probably a 8-foot drop or so from the rail of the rally onto the deck of this ghost ship. Now, Adelaide, did you say you wanted to take Briar aside?
Oh, yes, but only if we can get, really, have a private conversation without the other two overhearing.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's possible.
We're
Tiago
like
and
prepping to go or whatever. Yeah.
exactly. Tiago and Theodore are getting themselves ready.
Briar, may I
Yes.
have a word?
Certainly.
I have been thinking about what we witnessed down below,
Yes.
and I would like to confide something in you if you would be open to hearing it.
Yes. What is it?
I have had some strange vision of this voyage, and I am very concerned. I think it is very important that we get to dry land as soon as possible.
I am in agreement with you. What do you mean, visions?
I saw a ship. I saw a ship, and it was floating in the sky towards the moon. And I don't know what this means, but it doesn't bode well, particularly with what we both witnessed earlier this eve.
Yes. That is strange. I think there is certainly something irregular afoot. What I hope is that we can find out what's on the ship. We can get to... Is it nighttime right now?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably 2 hours after midnight.
Yeah. If we can get to... Mother used to tell me that everything looks better in the morning, which has not always proved to be true, but I think that after tonight, anything will look better than this. So I just think we need to find out what's going on. I think there is an answer, or some answers to this. For example, it seemed like Selby could have lived. Like there was just a filament, just gossamer between her and life. But did you feel that?
I cannot imagine how she could have lived after having... And she gestures to her head. Briar, she was gone.
She's not lost. She was not.
I don't mean to argue with you. Adelaide is going to put a hand on his shoulder. What do you think we will find on this ship?
I wish I had any idea.
Well, be safe. And she's going to give him a squeeze. And I'm going to cast protection from evil and good.
Oh. I want to be protected from...
Does that have any kind of manifestation, visual or otherwise?
Well, that's what I was wondering, because she's trying to be very subtle. So I think maybe she just gives him a squeeze and her hand is warm for a moment. Like oddly warm for just a moment.
Sure.
Mm.
Right. Well, then let's go.
And as she walks past, Briar kind of looks down at his hands because he's felt like as if he's wearing like some, I don't know, like maybe some like invisible suit of armor, just feels like strengthened and protected in this strange way. And then he walks and joins the others.
Okay. So the four of you are ready to go. You've got all of your equipment. Anything of particular note beyond the usual that you would want to bring with you?
I mean, do I have a potion of healing I could give Theodore or something?
You do not. So in terms of like
Yeah.
the world building, the idea of potions is going to be a little
don't
more low
exist.
magic, a little rarer, yeah, than you might
Yeah,
imagine.
no elixir or yeah, great. Okay.
Such things might exist, but they're, you know, they're fanciful stories.
Yes, certainly. All right. Yeah, I think we have to go now. Let's do this. Unless anyone else has things.
Nope.
I'll make sure that I grab, like, I'm sure there may be rope on the deck of the rally, and I'll just make sure that I have an adequate length of that, and make sure that I have my flask. And aside from that, I think I'm good to go.
Okay. You vault over the edge of the rail of your ship and land with a thud, one by one, onto the deck of this strange abandoned vessel. The first thing you notice is that the center of the deck looks blackened, right around the main mast. Although the main mast is intact, seems to be, you know, undamaged anyway, but the wood itself is kind of, you might say, charred as of fire.
Okay, everybody. Perhaps we should split up.
No. Let's stay together. I'm sorry, I didn't say equipment. Can I have brought a lantern?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay, great. So I'll say I would rather stay together. It's I'm just afraid of the dark is all, you know. It helps to have you with me, Tiago.
Uh-huh.
Well, it would probably make some measure of sense if we maybe broke off into pairs. We might be able to cover more of the ship that way. If we were to do that, perhaps we just agree to all stay within earshot of one another. There doesn't appear to be anything here, and with that, Theodore will stamp on the deck 2 or 3 times. And as odd as all of this may seem, I'm sure there's some measure of logical explanation for what's occurred here. And with that, he'll like kind of run his finger across the mast and kind of like look at the residue there in a puzzled fashion.
Well, the first thing you feel is that when you stamp on the deck, it gives a little bit, not in a dangerous way, but you can feel that that wood is brittle, and it's definitely been burned, seemingly from below.
Oh, okay.
When he does that, I think Tiago would listen intently, if he could, for any noises he might be able to hear on the ship.
Sure. Okay. So it sounds like a perception check for Tiago, and then maybe an investigation check for Theodore.
Yes.
Can I join with or aid Theodore on the investigation? Is
Absolutely.
that possible? Great.
Mhm.
10.
And does that give me advantage?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, if that's the case, then 17, which is infinitely better than the other one.
Tiago, as you strain to hear anything, you just hear the crashing of the waves. It seems as though the current is getting very, very strong, and it's coming westward from where the moon lies on the horizon. As you look over, this must have happened very subtly and gradually, but the moon seems enormous to you. And you kind of stand there for a moment looking at it. It's almost as if its surface has become clearer and its size, of course, increased. And it seems golden in its light, but that kind of sickly yellow gold color, which is becoming a running theme of this night. You don't hear anything other than the waves. As Theodore and Briar examine the main mast, you don't see that this particular fixture on the ship caught fire, but it does seem to be the epicenter where the flames were burning the deck below. touching it, you don't see any evidence of anything strange, you know, a little bit of salt maybe from the sea air, and evidence that indeed what happened to the main sail was that it was torn down while up. So evidently the sail was hoisted, wrapped, tied, and then in that position, someone climbed up and tore it down. And you can see evidence of that canvas in the rigging.
Well, that doesn't seem to make much sense.
What is it?
Well, I don't know. The way the sail had been torn down like that, if we were to find this ship washed up on shore, that would make all the sense in the world to me, because it would indicate that somebody had pulled it down for shelter. But I can't for the life of me think as to why the crew would want to eliminate one of the only methods for steering the ship if it were out in the middle of the sea like this. Maybe...
In my experience, it isn't always the crew, it is an individual.
You think sabotage?
Or mutiny.
Great, more of that.
I would like to go below deck.
Let's go.
Yeah, you can clearly see that rather than the set of stairs that zigzag their way into the hull of your ship, this ship seems to have a central grate just off from where the mast is. So you could pull the grate up like a trap door almost. It's probably 10 feet by 12 feet. So you could pull it up. It's not locked or anything. There's clearly a handle and hinges where that can be done. And it leads down into the only sort of main hold. There would be a bilge below that, but kind of the main hold of the ship. As you look down in the lantern light, you can see that that deck is flooded. So the ship is not sinking, but clearly waterlogged. Somehow water has gotten inside.
That doesn't look good.
Do I believe that, like, the captain's cabin would be down there somewhere?
You think actually the captain's cabin would be to your right. With that sort of raised area that you often see on the back of a ship where the helm kind of sticks out from the top, which they call the poop deck.
Yes.
The cabin would be through doors right there within that enclosure.
Okay, this might be a dead end. Unless one of you cares to get a little wet.
Well, let's hope it doesn't come to that.
Yeah.
So do you want to get closer to those doors into the captain's cabin?
Yeah, I'll shut the trap and head that way.
Okay. You open the door. It's not locked. What you see, instead of a bedroom, is what looks like some kind of altar. It's made out of bones, stacked bones, in kind of a lattice pattern, almost like Lincoln logs, tapering up toward the top, and sitting upon the top is a skull. And on the skull, you can see a symbol has been carved and then inlaid with some kind of precious metal, like gold or silver or something like that, but it's not one you recognize.
The symbol's not one I recognize, or the
The material. Okay. The symbol itself, it just looks like a line down the face, two lines across the face, kind of like where the eyes are, and then another line just along the side of the forehead, and then another line coming down across here. This obviously was carved into the skull and then very expertly kind of inlaid with this precious metal.
Do I recognize the symbol?
Make a religion check.
22.
Good rolls tonight. Okay, so as you look at this skull, you have a memory. It's up to you what form this memory takes, but you have run across rumors of this whispered order of crusaders who are in the service of a being called Arrochule. Arrochule is actually the namesake of Arrochule, the empire where you came from. You would know that in the worship of the god Damoth, often called Lakmarum, that Arrochule is his son. And this is considered kind of a, you might say, patron saint of the religion that is most common in the Empire of Arrochule. You know that this religion, the most orthodox sects of this religion, do practice sacrifice of the firstborn child.
I'll just say out loud. Arrochule. This is These are followers from Arrochule.
Now, what you specifically think, though, when you see the symbol, is that this is a very, very rare, almost mythical version. It's like the equivalent of seeing the symbol of the Holy Grail in our culture. You know, like something that you thought was just a legend from the sort of romantic past, very outdated, problematic past of this now fairly popular religion, is suddenly staring you in the face. You know that they have a feud with a group of people who also once existed historically, and you know, not to go into a lot of detail because Tiago probably wouldn't know a lot of it, but there are lots of stories of this war, this eternal war that has raged between the followers of Damoth and the followers of the heretic god known as Jarus.
I relay all of that.
Okay, so you'll kind of tell the story.
Yeah.
Great.
So what does that mean, though? Is this some sort of sacrificial ship?
Well, they weren't transporting goods.
Well, it seems more likely they were enthusiasts of some kind. This is clearly a bit, well, I was going to say overboard, but it is on board the ship. But it seems, I don't know. You know what Mother says about most religions. No disrespect to Umasa.
Yes,
What does...
I would. Well, I was
Sorry.
going to say I would note too that like with any sort of jokes that Theodore is giving, at least like I think he is noticeably uncomfortable by all of this and trying desperately to kind of like, you know, do anything he can to divert the fact that he is very frightened by what he sees.
Should we leave it?
Would I feel that this is an evil type thing necessarily? Like, would I think I should destroy it?
That is a good question.
More like cursed and untouchable.
Being kind of a pantheist, worshiping Umhasa, knowing, you know, that lots of gods exist, you would probably recognize it as being a complex situation. You know, I wouldn't go so far as to say that religions can all be categorized under an alignment. Like, you know, there are evil gods and good gods. It's probably more complex than that. However, yeah, if you have a distaste for those who cheat death and believe in murder of heretics, then yeah, you probably would be offended by this.
This whole place needs to be destroyed. This altar, the ship. Let's take what we need and burn the rest.
I trust Tiago's judgment.
I think let's make sure we're off the ship before we start burning it, but honestly, it seems rather destroyed as it is, so I'm happy to finish the job.
Suddenly, through the night and the sounds of the waves, you hear the howling as of some gigantic hound.
What?
It seems to be coming from all around you.
And take out
Like-
my axe.
I'd like each of you to make a wisdom saving throw.
It's a natural 20. I'm not making this up, and it's going to come back to bite me, I swear.
What's your bonus?
So that's going to put me at a 21 total.
Okay.
Mine's a 14.
Okay.
Mine's an 11.
I got a 13.
Oh no.
Okay. So, Adelaide. You and Tiago both suddenly clutch your ears as you hear this howl, and you are overcome with the nightmarish nature of the scene that you're looking at. The skull seems to be looking at you with a pointed glare, and you become frightened. And while frightened this way, you are aware suddenly of a presence in this cabin with you. In a dark corner, blending in with the shadow, is this massive hound. And you can see wisps are coming off of its form like steam or smoke rising. And its very body seems to be composed of shadow. But it opens its mouth and smiles at you with long fangs and this unnatural grin. Behind the teeth, you can see the embers of a fire beginning to glow.
Adelaide screams and points at it.
Okay, let's roll initiative.
All right.
19.
16?
Okay.
16 for me as well, with the bonus.
14.
Great. So we'll start with Briar.
Okay, so I just heard the scream and I'm seeing the point. If I look in that direction, can I see anything?
You do not see anything.
All right, I'm going to step between Adelaide and what she's pointing at. I'm going to lift my blade and ready an action, which, surprise, is going to be hitting something with an axe.
As soon as you see an enemy.
As soon as I see it, yeah, as soon as it comes, I'm going to stay close to her, so I'm going to wait for it to come within range of me, which I think
Great.
I have to do anyway.
Okay. Theodore.
So I'll turn in that general direction. I'm assuming that Theodore doesn't see anything either.
Correct.
Okay, so seeing Briar sort of readying himself, he'll look over to Tiago and Adelaide. What is it? What has gripped you? There's nothing here. We should just leave.
Can we talk?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
A monster! A monster!
In the corner. It is there.
So not seeing it, Theodore is going to draw his sword and sort of walk in that general direction cautiously. And sort of I'm interpreting me not being able to see it as me just being so full of my own sort of like arrogant bravery where I'm like, whoa, that he's sort of putting on this false front at this point and kind of creeping towards it. And I'll move as far forward in that direction as I can get, cautiously, but not stopping if I don't see anything.
As Theodore brashly steps forward, you can all still see his shallow, rapid breath, his hand quivering as the sword moves in the direction. And the two of you who can see this creature, as the sword would reach it, it suddenly seems to drift like smoke and sort of shift aside. Theodore, you feel your sword hit some kind of resistance, almost like it's entering a soft, like sand. However, this is not an attack because you're not able to see it. As he does this, the others notice that it rears its head back and then the burning embers of flame begin to unleash. It's not its turn yet, so there's still a moment for Adelaide and Tiago to react.
Get out of the way!
I'll. Can I actually?
Go ahead, Adelaide, first.
Okay.
Can I move when I'm frightened? Can I move?
You can move away from the source of your fear.
I would like to grab the back of Briar and try to move him away because I presume that we're about to get shot at with the flame. So I'm gonna try to like grab him and like dodge out of the way.
Okay. Make your choice of a persuasion or an athletics check. Because it was just Theodore's turn and he didn't like really fully take an action, I'm okay with this being a little bit freeform and you might be able to pull him back just in time.
He was grabbing me though, right?
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
it was
Because we
Briar.
were right
Okay.
next to each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with persuasion. Okay. I rolled a 17 plus
I mean,
6.
I think I would be willing to be, because
Great.
I'm trying to protect her, so I'm not going to resist.
Okay, so you'll feel her pull you back. How far?
Just like, can we go out the door? Like, can we get
Yep,
out the
you can
cabin?
get just outside the door.
Outside the cabin.
You're about 15 feet back.
Okay.
Now that you're back onto the deck of the ship, it looks like whatever flame damage was on the deck seems to have progressed. There is now a hole surrounding the mainmast, and you can see it starting to totter as the structure that was supporting it has seemingly disappeared, but there are no flames visible.
What is happening?
Okay, that's Adelaide's turn. Tiago.
Tiago is Theodore is farther up, closer to it than I am.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He's probably only 10 feet in front of you.
Okay. I can't move that direction, so I'm just going to yell to him, we need to move, and then turn and just run out, outside, I suppose. And I think I will, just hold. I can't see it right now. It's is it apparated? I mean,
No, I believe you can see it, right? Because you
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see
failed your
it.
saving throw.
okay. Well, then I will take a wild shot at it with my crossbow.
Great.
11.
Okay, the arrow strikes where it should be, but for some reason it is not there. You just see the arrow, or the bolt rather, stick plunk right into the wood of the cabin behind it.
I hate to be this guy, but does that mean that he just missed the roll, or does that mean that it's resistant to the attack?
He missed. He
Okay.
missed.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, I know that's I mean, we'll see. Anyway,
Okay, so Tiago, you've moved out of the cabin and then fired your crossbow.
Yeah.
So now, at this point, the flame rolls out of its mouth in an enormous cone, 15 feet, filling most of the cabin. Theodore, please make a dexterity saving throw.
you got this, man.
Okay, yeah, that's a 19, 20, 21.
Okay, you feel the flames hit your arm, and you throw yourself out of the way. So you manage to take only half damage. So you're only going to take 4 fire damage from that. And you are now actually behind this altar. The skull is sitting right there, staring away from you toward the doorway. You see that there are a number of what look like scrolls and other ancient papers. Some of them are in tubes, some of them are just stacked like parchment.
Is it on the altar?
Yeah, kind of like the back of the altar is hollow with a little shelf.
Not visible to me. Okay.
Great. Okay, back to Briar. You've
So I
been
just saw-
drawn
I saw
out
the
of the
flames.
cabin. You see the flame shoot out like a jet.
I kind of want to go Gimli the skull. You know, when he tries to break the ring. I don't know if that's the right move. I'm gonna do it. Okay, I'm just gonna stomp forward. Also, I'm gonna rage as my bonus action before I do any of this. I'm just, just angry. Like, I don't even know what this is. I don't know what's going on. Everything is out of my control. I'm gonna do what I can do. I'm gonna take out the axe, walk forward, and go, bam, down on the skull.
Okay, make an attack.
All right. That's a with the axe. That's an 18.
Okay, that's a hit.
Okay.
You make a very clear cleave right in the center of the skull. Go ahead and roll your damage.
Okay. That's gonna be just 3 damage. Roll the lowest I could do.
Great. So you make a crack in the crown of the skull. You can see that the inside is inlaid with some kind of tough metal.
Oh, the same thing that's on the outside?
Yes. So the inside has been kind of like
Coated
covered
with it.
in
Oh
the
my
the
gosh.
leafing of that metal.
Wow.
Okay.
Is there any noticeable effect?
As you strike it, no effect that you notice.
Okay.
You can now, however, that you have walked up to this distance, the hound is now visible to you, and it is looking forward hungrily at Theodore with these red, glaring eyes and this unnatural smile on its mouth.
Okay.
Looking down at the ground, you can see that its paws, where should be paws, are actually hoofs.
Do I have enough movement left to get close to Theodore?
Yep,
kinda
he's only
make
about
my
5 feet away.
Okay, so I'm going to sort of vault over the altar. I'm just going to vaulter over. And I mean, if I get too close, I'll provoke an attack, right?
Only if you leave its reach.
Okay, great. Then I'm just going to walk into range, essentially, just so that it's got another target to go for besides Theodore.
Okay. Great. Theodore, you've thrown yourself against the wall of the cabin. Been a little singed, but not too bad.
Looking in that general direction, am I able to see where the source of that flame came from?
Yes, it's now visible to you as well.
Okay.
With that same smiling face staring at you with red eyes.
Okay. So about how far away from me is it?
5 feet.
5 feet? Okay. So, like, to himself, and sort of like, right, there it is. That's what they were screaming at, and just sort of like pick myself up as best I can, especially since Briar is there. So I'll stand, and do so very sort of slowly, and play up the fact that I just got fire blasted over me, and then at the last second try and draw the sword up as sharply and powerfully as I can in an upward arc towards it, hoping that I catch whatever this thing is off guard.
Okay, make your attack.
So that is going to be a 16 plus 4, 20.
20 hits.
Okay. So that's going to be a 1 plus 4, 5 slashing damage.
Okay.
Okay. And that'll do it for me right now.
Okay, Adelaide.
Because Adelaide is outside now, and presumably nobody is paying any attention to her, a sort of silvery like ripple goes across her skin as she uses I forget what it's called. Essentially, as she casts mage armor on herself,
Yes.
so that she can have some protection from silver.
Great.
And then I want to. Am I still frightened?
You are frightened.
Okay, so I can't move towards it.
Right.
I suppose I just want to move further away then.
Okay, you can see the hold that Tiago had opened and looked down. There's water down there.
I don't know what to do. I'll go over to Tiago and kind of grip him and be like, "What should we do? What should we do?"
So there's no way back up to our own ship, yeah? I mean...
You could climb back up.
Was there a pretty high... Okay, I didn't know how big the height
It's about 8 feet.
Okay. I'm just gonna say, retreat!
But Theodore and Briar, They're still in there.
I know. We'll get them out. Be ready.
Okay, Adelaide's gonna try to take some deep breaths and try to work through this fear. Clarification, Graham. When you were frightened, can we attack, or do we have
You
disadvantage?
can attack with disadvantage.
Okay, then can I ready? No, I've already done my action. Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Okay. Tiago.
Okay. So, okay. Still frightened. Got it. Yeah, it sucks. Okay. Tiago's going to use his last spell slot, I guess. Can I see Theodore?
Yep.
Okay. I am going to reach out to Theodore and grasp my holy symbol and say, "Go forth into the fray with her strength as your shield," and cast protection from evil and good. So, yeah,
Is that concentration?
it is.
So you would know that if you cast that on her, it would end the effect that is on, was it Briar?
I didn't do that. Adelaide did.
I cast it on Briar.
Oh,
the
Adelaide
same
cast it.
spell
Thank
to
you.
Briar.
Yep. Great.
I am doing it now to Theodore.
We'll be your cheerleaders.
Yeah, Emma and I have the same spells apparently.
Great.
I'm just a cleric. What can I say?
So yeah, same spell basically. Disadvantage against, or on the, against him.
Nice.
Okay,
If
Theodore,
it
this
is one of those.
this kind of warm, buzzing feeling strikes you, and you feel the relaxation of sleep, but it's just enough to, kind of get you in the zone, take away whatever, adrenaline you've got going, and put you in a good place. All right, if that's it for Tiago, this creature is going to lunge in the direction of Briar, who attacked the altar with his axe. So Briar, it bolts forward suddenly, and the eyes just rush in your direction. You see the teeth coming towards you. That is a 22 to hit.
Ooh,
does
yeah,
it-
that's a
doesn't-
success.
Doesn't it get disadvantage though? Is it Graham? Is it a fiend or an elemental or
Aberration, celestial, elemental, fate, fiends, and dead. You don't have to confirm that it is.
Okay. The 22 is with disadvantage.
Oh
Okay.
my gosh!
Okay, so yeah, that I think that's a success. Yeah, I am level 2, so.
Oh no!
Okay,
All right.
you take 8 piercing damage, as well as 2 fire damage. As the teeth sink into you, you feel they burn. There's steam coming from the wound, and you feel that the bite is cauterizing even as it happens.
Okay.
It hasn't totally taken you down, but you can see its head kind of wrenching at your
Yeah, and I just like rip out of its grasp, and blood and charred flesh. Ooh.
Okay, your turn.
Okay, I'm going to. I mean, you said the thing about it being mad at me, but is it mad at me because I hit the altar? If I break the skull, will I break the thing, or is that just me coming up with a fanfic? Okay, I'm going to just hit the thing with my axe. All right, that's a 16.
Against the altar?
No. Sorry,
Against
I'm gonna hit the giant
the
wolf.
hound?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
16 hits.
So, boom. And then let's roll a d8. That's a 4. So plus the battle axe's natural damage is 2, so 6 damage this guy.
Okay.
Nice.
Again, when you hit it with your axe, it feels like sinking into sand. It's not quite that strong connection you would feel actually cleaving into a body.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it for Briar. And you added your rage damage?
No, is that 2 damage?
Yep.
Yeah, I have rage damage.
All right, so you're standing your ground?
Yes. Yeah.
All right, Theodore.
Does it appear to Theodore that this thing is taking any damage whatsoever? Is it showing any sort of wounds or anything that might indicate that it's worse for wear because of our attacks?
It seems to be composed of shadow, and therefore very difficult to tell.
Nice. All right. Is it still with? I'm assuming it when it lunged or moved towards Briar, did it?
Yeah, just beside you, so it's still within 5 feet,
okay,
but it's kind of countered around.
Right. Shoot. So how to do this without? All right, I'll give this a shot, and then if it doesn't work, we'll try something else. So seeing it lunge at Briar, and feeling this calming sort of presence and focus come over him, Theodore is going to bring his sword up and prepare to strike it once again. If I can, I'm going to use an action surge and attempt to attack it twice, just to see how that works. Excellent. So, with the first attack, I'll sort of lunge forward and try to impale the creature. So that's going to be 16 total to hit.
That hits.
Okay, so that's going to do 5 points of slashing damage again. And then, and then try and like turn my body to sort of cut across it with the second attack. And there we go. That's not so great. So 7 plus 4, so that's going to be an 11.
11 to hit?
11, yes.
Okay, that misses.
Okay.
So your first strike cuts right into it. Second, you just whiff through the air above its shoulders. Okay, any bonus action?
Let's see. Yeah, because I don't want to put myself in a position where I can take second wind as a bonus action here.
Great.
And that
go ahead and roll that.
Yeah.
And
then that will be it. That'll be it.
Okay, Adelaide.
All right, Adelaide is going to stand. I know I moved further back. Can I still see into the cabin?
Yeah, you can. If nothing else, you can move 10 feet or so to be able to see.
I want to raise my hand and recall what happened earlier when that blast came out unintentionally. And she's going to stand up tall, and she's going to straighten her shoulders, and she is just going to try to channel what happened before. And I don't even think she says anything to Tiago. She just goes for it.
Okay, you hold out your hand, and you feel this sort of char appear on the glove that's around your hand, so it kind of becomes blackened as this orange golden light blasts out through the cabin door and strikes the creature. Potentially, roll your attack.
Let's see.
Disadvantage from being frightened.
Okay. No, the second one landed on the floor. Sorry, guys. 1 second.
The tension.
No. Okay. Here, we're gonna use my other one. We're gonna use the big D20, big pink D20 here. Okay. Ooh, it's a 12.
Okay, a 12 will miss, unfortunately. So Briar and Theodore see this golden beam just strike into the cabin, hit the back wall, and it seems to do no damage to any objects, but it just kind of goes right over this creature's head. You want to move any farther away or stay where you are, Adelaide?
I stay where I am, but then I take the glove off. Because in Adelaide's mind, she thinks that that's why it didn't work.
Okay. Tiago.
Yeah, Tiago recognizes what just happened with her. Can't think about that now. I'm going to turn and point at the creature, and I will say, oh man, I had quote for this. Hang on. I'll say, and the bells will ring when shadows have fled. And cast Toll the Dead. Okay. So wisdom saving throw, please. DC 13.
Okay, it rolls a 14.
All right.
So the bell on the ship tolls as people see now fire starting to burn the captain's cabin from that blast. You can hear the people on your own ship tolling the bell and calling out. You hear a few voices saying, "Everyone all right? Whence come the flames?"
I'm gonna call back and say, hoist the anchor! Be ready to go!
So the creature, again, looking at Briar balefully, will spring forward and bite. Okay, it darts at you, but you're ready this time. And however you want, you kind of back up, give it room. You can smell the charcoal on its breath, reminding you of the wood smoke that you smelled on Selby's breath just before she ignited. And it kind of gets lower and lower as though it's preparing to pounce at you one more time. And it is your turn, Briar.
Okay. I don't know if we're gonna fight this or not. Okay. I'm going to. All right. I'm going to vault. Well, I don't know. I mean, mechanically, I don't want to have to deal with something related to the altar, but I want the flavor to be that I vault over the altar. I'm gonna say, Theodore, let's get out of here. I'm gonna leap back. I'm gonna make another strike at the skull.
Okay.
And see what happens. That's a natural 20.
Hey!
So
Roll high, don't die.
Roll
yes,
one more
hard.
d20 to
Okay.
see the severity of your critical hit.
It's a 3, so not a very
Okay.
severe critical hit.
Roll your damage dice twice.
Whoa, okay, that's pretty severe. All right, so that's that's a 6 and an 8 for damage. So 14 total damage to this skull.
And then plus your strength modifier.
Yes. I already put I rolled a 4 and a 6, so I made that 6 and an 8, and then 2 damage per for rage. Or no?
Just the rage bonus only happens once.
Once. Great. So another 2. So 16 damage total to this metal inlaid skull.
Okay, you crash your axe into the skull. It splinters into dozens of pieces, and you can see bits of the metal that were inside it kind of clatter along the floor. And as this happens, this creature suddenly goes up in a flame, and then almost like a wick, the fire goes out. The fire seems to travel along a line, almost as though there were a leash coming off the back of its neck. You didn't see any leash, but you see this clear line of orange flame go across the room, and that flame seems to have been some kind of cord that was holding it in place. But now the crashing of the waves takes over. It's the only sound you hear. No longer do you hear the howling or the snarl of this hound.
Is the fire that was still consuming the cabin, is that also dissipated, or is it still going?
No. The fire is still in effect. So
Okay.
the wall, you can see now that the walls on the door side of the cabin are burning.
Is there a way for Theodore to make it back towards the other side of the altar to try and scoop up some of the scrolls or parchments that he found there, as long as they're not engulfed in flame?
Mm-hmm. Make it just a straight dexterity check.
Yep. Drop that one.
You speedily try to grab all that up.
Not that speedily. So it's going to be a 7 total.
Okay, you're able to grab one in each hand.
Okay.
And then you make for the door. As you all clear out of the cabin, it's now just going up in flames, and you can see the flames are beginning to spread. Below, Tiago, you become aware of something in the water on the deck below. And it seems to be some kind of uh, humanoid form moving one arm after another, like in this slow swimming motion. And as this humanoid figure moves across the water, just through your, your dark vision granted to you, you can see that the person has a long scar going up from the palm of the hand all the way up the forearm to the pit of the elbow. And the face of this corpse looks up and seems to be wearing some kind of Spartan style helmet, but no shirt. So bare chested male figure. And coming down the front of the chest as the figure kind of arcs up to look at you, you lock eyes, although you can't see their eyes under the helm. But you can see there is a long scar, almost like an autopsy incision, and then two crosses across the chest. And yeah, you can't see the face. So, but they match the symbol that was on the skull, only this time they're made across seemingly the whole body. And the figure looks up at you and raises a fist, and you begin to see this cord, like a leash of flame, appear out of his hand.
I call out to him. Who are you? I get the sense that this was his beast. Yes.
Yes, the beast is beginning to form at the end of this leash, but you have time to call out. And as you do, the figure, craning his neck to look up at you, locks eyes with you and says,
Tiago will Tiago is going to locking eyes with it. I think he's going to start to his heart starts beating faster. Seeing this, and I think he starts to kind of snarl a bit. And I'm gonna turn to Adelaide. Looking at her, I'll say, "Stay back." I'm gonna start to kind of rip through my skin a little bit, and kind of Hulk out just a little bit. I think my clothing, I suppose, drops.
It doesn't transform with you.
Right, but is it like ripped up at some point, or?
Sure, yeah. I mean, it can remain on your body, Hulk style, or like the Wolfman, like your shoulders get rounded and the shirt splits, but the rags are still kind of clinging to your body. What else do we see as you transform?
So yeah, I get about 1.5 feet taller. My slight facial hair kind of starts to almost swarm across my face, and my long scraggly hair kind of just trails down my back. The hair gets out of control. My eyes go bloodshot, and a long snarl, or a long snout, I should say, kind of pops out, very canine looking. And I think I launch myself at the creature in the water before it can get the chain, or the chain off.
Okay, as you transform in front of your friends, you need to make an acrobatics check to leap down. It's about a 15-foot drop into the water. The water will cushion your fall a little bit.
15.
Okay, you land in the water with a splash, and you rise up, and as you rise, the water drips down from your fur. Are you in hybrid form?
Yes.
Okay, so what all of you see is the classic figure of the werewolf in front of you. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, and that as the Spartan-looking soldier with the scars across his chest and the dog on his leash lunges forward through the water to battle. That is where we'll end our session tonight.
Graham.
Yes.
Thank you
that
so
was
much,
fun.
everyone.
Oh, yes.
A lot of good D&D moments tonight.
I always get so
Thank
sweaty.
you.
When you transform into a
When you
werewolf, you mean?
transform.
When it was happening too, and then like the music shifted, and I was like, no, I gotta get some music on for this. I was like distracted.
See, I feel like when you after you transform it, then you just have to pant a lot because you don't sweat anymore. You know?
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
If my dog has anything to say about it, that's what you would be doing.
Exactly.
Well, thanks everyone so much for joining us. Lots of fun tonight. Let's just remind you one more time that we've got 2 other streams on this channel that you can catch. We've got Pitfalls and Ponies, which is at 10:30 a.m. Central Time on Sunday morning. And then we've got the Green Room, which I believe is at
8:30.
8:30
Yep.
Central Time on Tuesdays.
Yep.
So join Justin, Emma, and all of our other friends for those streams if you can. Thanks so much for following us. We appreciate all the support and the views and all of your chatter. And is there anything else we need to say?
So yeah, we're actually gonna get a little experimental here tonight, friends. So anybody who's still with us, we are going. Although our stream is ending, we're actually gonna raid another stream, and that stream is. Do we know
Get
what
out
that
your
stream is?
pitchforks.
Q times? Q times?
Okay, it's gonna be
QQQ times.
So yeah, basically you don't have to do anything. It's just going to be we're going to transfer you over basically. So we encourage you to stick around that chat a little bit, just like listen, see what you like, give it a follow if you end up liking it a little bit. We want to try and support all the other artists like ourselves and all the different stories being told out there. So but yeah, go do that. We're going to do that raid right now. And
Yep, you'll see us all there in the chat.
Yep.
all right, have a good night.
Thanks, everyone. Say goodbye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you.